Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer, welcome back to Farming Simulator 19, and welcome back to Shamrock Valley with Seasons. It's been a minute. I haven't touched this map for almost a week, and it's, oh man, as always, where to begin? Let's start with the map. So we've got, that's not the map that I want. Where's the map that I want? There it is. So our grass, in fact, let me go back here to make it easier. We own fields 1 and 3. They were arable fields. We planted them with grass, right? So 1 is right there, and 3 is right there. We planted those with grass. We also own fields 2 and 7. Those were already planted with grass, right? And then field 6, right there, that's the sheep meadow. We already own that. You saw we've got, come back, like so. You saw we've got fertilizer in 1 and 3. I was only able to fertilize 3. I mean, I guess I could go back in and touch this up, this area that's missing, but that was just, I don't know. It just wouldn't take fertilizer on that part. And then fields 2 and 7 have a single layer of fertilizer. Everything that is grass, 2 and 7 and 6, I suppose, those can be harvested for first cut. 1 and 3 are still growing. I was kind of at a loss as to what to do this episode, and then I remembered we've got this big meadow up here, right? Sort of wrapping around the dairy, and we don't have any cows right now, so we could certainly get in here, and that's what I did. So that's where we're going to pick it up from today, and I'll tell you a bunch of other things as we're working. Is that about right? I always like to put this back so it's like, you know what I mean? Reset if we hop in there. And what else can I tell you? Our loan... No loan. We have 70,000 euro. We have not had to borrow any money whatsoever. And our sheep are doing all right. And they are feeding themselves. I have not given them any hay in several days, so they are eating from the field. So I did just mow this. You saw. I went with this kind of mower. In fact, I'll tell you as we're driving down, because we need to rent a rake. I went with this kind of mower, and I'll tell you why. I have always... I don't know, perhaps been too cautious with grass. I treat grass like an arable crop, and you don't have to. It's pretty hardy stuff. You can drive over it before you cut it. You can drive over it after you cut it. I mean, you don't want to make a habit of it. You don't want to like go absolutely crazy, but a little bit here and there. It's going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. And with the horsepower that we're running, we have 250 horsepower tractors. Well, one 130, one 150. So I could not do front mower and butterfly mowers on the back. We didn't have enough horsepower unless we rent it again, but I'm renting enough equipment and I just feel like that just bleeds money. So I didn't want to rent a tractor for $8,000, right? Just to run butterfly mowers that we would also have to rent. So I thought, let's do this. Now, I wanted to do the trailed mower because it's 4 meters wide. I thought that would be fantastic. However, I wasn't sure how a worker would deal with it. I wasn't sure if a worker could deal with it at all because it's offset. So we went with this. No, I just want to drop it. There we go. It is dropped. So I went with this, and my thought was, well, because it's off to the side, we're always going to be driving over grass, right, before we cut it. But that's not the worst thing. It's not the worst thing. And a worker will be able to handle it because it's rigid and et cetera, et cetera. Well, no. Not even close. Worker could not handle it. So I ended up doing that field manually. Not a big deal. Let's do this one. Let's rent this one. Horsepower, 75. Yeah, we're good to go. All right, break us off. We'll pick this thing up. So it was either the one off to the side or the trailed mower. I knew the trailed mower wouldn't work. It turned out that the one off to the side didn't work either. But the goal was a mower that we could use with both of our tractors or either of our tractors. And right there. And that would carefully, and that would be okay on a worker. And I mean, we got like half of our wish. We I don't know, something. It worked out. So that grass is cut. I went with that meadow as well because it's sort of not important grass. I mean, it's like I found it, you know. It's not really part of our roster. I just realized that we had it, so it's sort of expendable grass. It's not fertilized. It's first harvest stage. We're not going to get a lot of grass out of it, but I wanted to wait until our proper grass was all second growth stage. And also, I don't know, this is always the dilemma, right? Like, I want to get it out of the ground as soon as possible to make room for a second cut, but then you have to wonder, like, will we even make it to second cut? Like, what's the greater net yield if we cut before it's fully mature, so we can get 3 layers of fertilizer on our next potential cut, or let this mature all the way till full maturity, knowing that we might not then be able to get a second cut, right? Like, I never know. I never know what the right way to do that is. And I think that's one of the things that I like about seasons isn't that stuff that real farmers have to think about? You know, isn't that kind of a thing that you got to sort that stuff out? So this seems like it makes the most sense. And honestly, we didn't have anything else to do. Carefully, don't hit the wall. We didn't have anything else to do. I mean, I could have skipped forward a few more days until we got to second harvest stage on all of that grass, but then potentially half the year is gone. I wanted to do something else. And we do have two pits here. Don't hit the stone wall. We do have 2 pits. So, you know, whatever we get from this field, if we put it in and cover it and let it start cooking, then we've still got another place to put all the grass that we get from those other fields when we mow them. So it seemed like a safe bet. Now, I did start recording the mowing process, the mowering, and it wasn't quite a disaster, but that that recording has been deleted, and instead we'll pick up on the raking and loading wagoning of this here grass. So, yep, that's where we're at. You know, hopping back in after having had kind of a hectic weekend with the new system, with getting everything transferred over and just, you know, yada yada. When I hopped in this map, I really had sort of forgotten where we were. It's a new map for us. We've only done a couple episodes. And it took me a minute to remember, like, now, what are our goals here? What are we doing? What's his name again? So it's, yeah, I think we're just going to be doing grass for a little while. I think we will. Probably 2 or 3 seasons. Now, our sheep, they are not reproducing yet, but they are making wool. I've put up some pallets. I found out where the wool pallet spawn is. The pallet spawn for the wool pallet spawn, same thing. I found out where it is, and I've been bringing them up to the shed. I cannot find a convenient place to put our wool pallet storage mod, because it prefers to be on some pretty flat land. I mean, I guess we could put it out here. I don't know that I want to do that and then have it interfere with the area where the cows wander around. I don't know. There aren't a whole lot of flat places on this map. It's a very hilly map. And that mod really does prefer flat ground. And I don't want to get into a whole lot of terrain sculpting, and so I just left it. Now, we've got a perfectly flat, placeable area, but it's actually further away from the sheep meadow than our farm is. So at that point, we would have, like, our net time savings would be negative, 0 at best. Just take it to the farm at that point. Or take it to the store and sell it. There's no point taking it further away, right? Like driving past a place that you could store your wool to store your wool. That don't make no kind of sense. So I haven't done that yet, but if we find a good flat place convenient to the sheep meadow, I might do that. I thought about in the sheep meadow, but as with the cow pasture, I don't want to interfere with the area where the little sheep are wandering around. So we'll just hold off on that for a while. I believe we've got 3 more pallets down there to pick up and 3 pallets in the shed. We have the merino sheep. They're making more wool than our Dorset. Did we have Dorset on Gaislesburg? I believe we did. They're making more wool than the Dorset. I don't know how they're going to reproduce. I think less than the Dorset. But I did buy some more. I sold the case 1455, and we have 2 tractors now, and with the money that we had from that sale, I bought 2 trailers, 1 grain, 1 silage. I bought sheep. We've been renting some equipment, and I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, that's about all we did, and we're still sitting on 67,000 euros. So that's what's been going on off camera. Now for the sheep, we can have a maximum of 500. And I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this. I think what I want to do is not sell any lambs as we were doing on Gazelsberg. I think I just want to let them reproduce until they max out at 500 and then leave them be, with the goal being that at 500 they stop reproducing and simply mature, right? So I think that's what happens. So if that's the case, then hopefully mature sheep make more wool than lambs, and so we would have maximum wool productivity. And what I'd like to do in, I guess, the final phase of that is once per year, probably in the fall, maybe in the winter, sell, say, 100 sheep, and I would assume they would be the 100 oldest sheep that we have. I don't know what happens to sheep in seasons when they get old. I don't know if they die. I don't know if they stop making wool or if they become infertile. I don't even know how old is an old sheep? Is it 5? Is it 10? How old do sheep get? I have no idea. So I figure we'll sell 100 every fall, right? And that will make room for 100 more to reproduce. I know the Dorset, we had 150 and they made 100. So I figure if we have 500 here, we sell 100, that leaves 400. They'll make 100? I mean, more maybe? I don't know. But we don't necessarily want more. We just want to cycle out the oldest sheep. We don't necessarily want a whole pasture full of lambs that aren't making wool yet. So I think 100 is going to be like our magic number every year. We're going to sell 100 and hopefully breed 100 more, but we'll always have 400 adult sheep making wool at any given moment. So we'll try to get that going as well. We don't need a baler. We don't have a baler because we're not going to need to make a lot of hay bales for the sheep. We bought a couple bales and took them down there and delivered them, but now the sheep seem to be taking care of their own needs food-wise, and we also installed that pipe on their water trough, so all we need to do is just run down there daily, open the tap, fill the trough, and we're good to go. We don't need to head down there with a trailer. We don't even own a water tanker at this point. So we've got some good things going on as far as maybe not automating the sheep, but streamlining that process, to get to the point where we can really fill that meadow, get 500 sheep in there, and start making a significant amount of wool. So that's what's going on there. And then otherwise, as I said, I think silage for a few years, it just makes the most sense. And it may not be the most interesting thing to do, but in Farm Sim 19, it's certainly one of the most profitable, and it also requires not a ton of equipment. So at this point, we rented a cheap, small 24,000 liter loading wagon. We're just going to gather this up, put it in the clamp, and get the cover on it as quickly as possible. And because we have that other clamp right next to it, when our other grass matures, we can just put that in as well. I don't know if we will get a second cut. I assume we will. It's been raining. It's day 5 of this save game, and I want to say it's rained every single day so far. Ireland apparently gets a lot of rain. So I don't think we need to worry about drought, and you don't need to worry about a lot with grass. Basically just fertilize it, and it holds fertilizer from the previous year. So fertilize it like once, I think maybe twice to get 3 layers. You don't need to fertilize it 3 times. You certainly don't need to plant it. And we'll weed it, of course. And I think if we do that, we'll get that, 190, 160, 200%. We'll get that good yield. It's just whether or not we'll get it twice. That's always the goal, is to get it twice to get the second cut. So this has been working. It's a small tractor. It's been working kind of hard. So we'll leave that running. We'll go over here and hop in the Puma. And we'll head down and pick up that little rented loading wagon. And we'll gather up some grass. How are we doing on time? 15 minutes. That's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, this is not what I planned to do this episode, but honestly, when I start recording, very often I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. And I just let just let the needs of the farm determine what comes next. Kind of like that. So let's get this going. I am enjoying low horsepower, and I really appreciate the people that showed me the light. This is certainly as much fun as big equipment, and in some ways it is a lot more fun. It's certainly more challenging. I think the only challenge that I really ever felt with big equipment was maneuvering it, fitting it in places, making it do what you need it to do. But as far as being able to get up that hill or being able to move that piece of equipment or whatever, there was never any doubt. If you had a 400 or 500 horsepower tractor, there was never any doubt that it was going to be able to get the job done. It was just fitting it through the gate to get to the field to get the job done, that sort of thing. With small equipment, not so. You got a lot of thinking and planning to do. So get this going here. This is, I want to say this loading wagon, this is the tandem loading wagon set. I want to say it's by Forbidden Mods, but I could be wrong about that. But it is, there's about 1,000 options and a lot of colors. So I went with the Mengele colors, and I think some of their stuff on the color, it will actually say like Mengele blue or Mengele red. This did not. You had to kind of guess. So I just kind of guessed, and there was some different configurations for up top, whether it's got the slatted sides with the wires on top, or whether you go with the wood. I went with the wood. I don't think I've ever used a loading wagon like this before. It was a nice look, so I figured let's give it a try. So we'll get this going. We'll get these headlands picked up, and then I suppose I'll do lengths with the rake off camera. And next episode, we'll see what we've got in the clamp. And it's entirely possible that next episode we'll start by seeing what we've got in the clamp, and then we will immediately hop on a mower and start on another field. Depending on what we get out of this field, that could determine whether we do, in fact, rent a tractor and mowers for our grass fields proper, right? Our dedicated grass fields, rather than this sort of ancillary grass field that we're in right now. But we'll find out when the time comes. Right, I don't think this thing has any liquid to inject or anything. I mean, it's got some tanks on it and some various other things to give, I think, you know what I mean? Sort of the illusion of an injector, but I don't think we've got an actual injector. Okay. Here we go. And we'll very carefully get past our 5600 here. I think we've got enough room, yeah. We'll very carefully get past here on the right. And I don't know if this thing will fill up before we make it all the way around. But if it does not, then next time around we'll just be careful going by on the left, and then our headlands will be done. And I think, yeah, I think we actually are going to fill up pretty quickly. I was curious how much grass we'd get from this field. I want to say 100,000, 200,000 liters. Because this thing is 25,000. I think one headland, or less than one headland, will certainly fill it. So if two headlands equals 2 or 3 of 25,000, right? And we're talking 50 to 75,000 just from the headlands, and we have to do all the lengths still. So I think it's not inconceivable that we would get 250,000 liters of grass from this field. I think it's probably going to be more like 100 or 150,000, but as quickly as this thing is filling up, we could be doing okay here. So that is all that's all the, I don't know, the sim farming stuff. Other stuff, we're on the new system. All settings are maxed out. You can see we got a nice view off into the distance there. Holy smokes. I love it. Now this map did update today. It's Monday the 16th. It updated just before I started recording. And I did see a note that they fixed the lighthouse. Oxygen David fixed the lighthouse. The texture error, the light was a little wonky. Got that fixed. He said he fixed some fill planes and various other things. Very cool. And I think, yeah, it's just some housekeeping stuff. Just, some little patching. keeping things nice and tidy. But I did have somebody tell me that this map has its own special lighting package. And unfortunately, Seasons has its own special lighting package. And Seasons overwrites anything that the map maker may have included. So we are not seeing Oxygen David's very special lights that he created for this map. I don't know what to do about that. I don't know if there's a way that I can go into the XML and force his lighting package. I kind of want to, because apparently it's something to see. But Seasons, I guess, in the load order, Seasons comes through at the end and just kind of trumps everything and overwrites everything. So if you're running Seasons, Seasons insists on doing things its own way. So I think this may be the lighting that we're looking at for the rest of our time on this map, but I am curious about the other. And I know that in the notes for this map, I believe Oxygen David removed the depth of field, right? So we do have, there's not really any blur in the distance. That's pretty crisp. That cuts down on GPU load. It does free up some FPS. Until Saturday afternoon, that was definitely a priority for me, and I'm still very much aware of and sympathetic to that. I'm not a person that needs to be reminded to remember where they came from. So I know until just a couple days ago, I had a system that was constantly challenged by games and sims. Very fortunate that at the moment I have a system that is not being challenged too hard, but I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to go buck wild and demand that every map and everything be, you know what I'm saying? Super eye candy. I am curious though if I can put the depth of field back in. I know there's a console command to remove it, turn it on and off, essentially. I don't know if the way that Oxygen David has the remove DOF set up, if it does that permanently or if it simply does that every time you load this map. I guess what I'm asking is, can we go into the console right now and just turn the DOF back on? So if that's the case, I would like to. I know if I'm wrong about this, please do correct me in the comments, but I think Oxygen David and Bullet Bill came up with the script that sort of hides equipment when it's in a building so that it doesn't even render, and that takes some load off your GPU. Yeah, that's a thing, isn't it? I want to say that is almost certainly a thing. Let me see. What do we want to do? We want to unload here. There we go. So, oh dear. We've high-centered ourselves in our own pit. There we go. That's better. So again, I appreciate all those types of scripts, and I fully understand why they are on a map. I just don't know if they can be turned on or off, because at the moment I don't necessarily need them, and I want this map to look as good as it possibly can. I mean, both for me, of course, because I want it to, want it to be super cool, but also for you, watching the video. I want you to see the best possible version of this map that you can see. So I'll take a look this week and see if any of that stuff can be overwritten and added back in. I know the GeForce Experience has it's got reshade now, but the shaders that I saw for Farm Sim were really, really limited. It didn't do a whole lot. I mean, half of them are just ridiculous, night vision and stickers. That's not contributing to my experience. So the sorts of shaders that you get with Reshade and SweetFX are what I think about when I think about Reshade. So some of those sillier ones, yeah, that does nothing for me. And then the other ones were like black and white. I don't need that, right? Tilt shift, that's not helping. So bottom line is, even though we have access to that, the real-time reshade via NVIDIA, it's nothing that contributes anything to this sim. So I'm not using that at the moment. So possibly we'll throw on Reshade and SweetFX. I don't know. But whatever we can think of, whatever we can come up with. And I assume we'll be playing this map for a while. It is, at the moment, it is going to replace Gazelsberg. I haven't deleted my save game or my profile for Gazelsberg. We can always go back to it, but I love that map. It's just a little bit played. We've spent a lot of time on it, and it is kind of a bigger, more industrial map. It's not that it's not fun, it's just maybe a different kind of fun, a different kind of farming. So we'll go back to it if you want, but for now I think we're going to be on Shamrock Valley and Greenwich Valley. I know one is a UK map, one is an Irish map, and in some ways they're very similar, but I mean, I don't have a problem with it at all because these are my favorite style of maps. I like farms from this part of the world. So if I could only have like one style of map, German, Polish, UK style, you know, Russian, that sort of thing, it would be this style of map that we're on right now. So I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I do like Gazelsberg. I think maybe we just went over the top with that big silage operation up north and sort of burned out on it, as you do. So, trying to think what else. Yeah, that's about it. Yep, that's all I got. And now no, we'll worry about that another time. Where are we at? 26 minutes, 27. Okay, this should work out perfect. We'll fill this a second time. We'll take it up and unload it, and then that should take us to the end of the episode. I'll gather up the rest of this off camera. I'll get it into the pit, and I will get it, yeah, I think we'll go ahead and get it compacted and get a cover on it. It's probably not going to even almost fill one of those pits. They look pretty big, but it is money. You know, it is something that we can sell for money, and particularly if we do second cut, if we put first cut from our proper grass fields in the other pit. So we're going to put this that we're picking up right now, we're going to put this in the right pit. If we put the grass that we get from our proper grass fields in the left pit, it would be nice to have the right pit emptied out and ready to go for second cut if we decide to leave what's in the left pit there until we can get a good price for silage. Not even take the cover off, just let it sit there and see how we do. Now, I know we threw off our silage prices quite a bit on Gazelsberg when we went with that placeable BGA. Carefully, there we go. We don't have that issue here. We're not going to be placing a BGA. So the only price that we'll ever get for silage is whatever price Seasons calculates it's selling for. And I want to say it's really not very good. And I don't think it goes up and down very much during the year. So we will make money from this, but not nearly the kind of money, you know, not the 150,000 euro a day that we were making on Gazelsberg. However, everything on this map is going to be smaller, including our budget, and we have no loan right now. We have no loan, and we could, with what we get for silage and wool this year, we could buy another arable field and do canola next year. We could do a good cash crop and still have plenty of grass fields. This one in particular, like I said, I just kind of realized that we had it, but we're gonna get some money out of this field. It didn't cost us anything. I mean, other than obviously the price of renting the equipment, but you know what I mean. We didn't have to buy the field or anything, and it already had grass planted in it. We didn't fertilize it. So even though this is going to be maybe a little bit less glamorous, a little bit less sexy than Gazelsberg, in its own sort of quiet, stoic way, I feel like we're gonna do good on this map. And one of these maps, I'm telling you, one of these days, one of these maps that we play, we're actually gonna make a profit. I swear we are. That is my vow to you. So we'll get this thing in here, like right about like so. Like so? Right about like so. Yeah, right there. We'll start getting this unloaded. And we're already close to 50,000 in here. We're not even done with the headlands. So I think we're going to get a decent amount of grass in here. And these pits are, yeah, they're pretty big. They are. So let's pull this over here in the sun. Hop out and get a nice screenshot. Time? 30 minutes exactly. Oh, it's beautiful. I love it when things work out. So we'll pull this up right here. We'll set the brake. Turn the HUD off. We'll hop out. There you have it, folks. Thanks for stopping back to check out The Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Farming Simulator 19. This is Shamrock Valley with Seasons, and we'll see you next time. Take care now.